Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Apparently, you can't input glitchy footage into Final Cut Pro. It doesn't like it. Spent a few hours making my footage have glitchy effects. Final Cut Pro didn't like it, would not render the video, so the intro is now in a red room. Welcome to Atonal Whiplash 2. Before we can do any of that, this is the dopest shit ever. I'm a train, bitch. Notice how I'm a fucking train, bitch. Look me up on Google. Look me up on Google. Look me up. Look me up.
There's something interesting about the city. You see some people who really, they want to move to the countryside, right? They want to move out to the country. The people that do that, they tend to have grown up in the suburbs. The people who grew up in the city, some of them want to move to the country. They have this fantastical idea of countryside purity, right? They have this fantastical idea of a utopian lifestyle away from civilization or whatever. But the people who grow up in the city, generally, they stay in the city. People who grow up in the country, they generally want to move to the city. Now there's these people who get it all wrong, right? There's these people who, they're way too into this idea of like, oh, I love the hustle and bustle of the city. I love the hustle and bustle or whatever, right? Bit fucked. They get it all wrong, right? They're way too obsessed with the memes of what they don't see the reality of the situation. They're way too obsessed with the memes. They're way too obsessed with the scoop. Just the hustle and bustle of the city. But London isn't a city. London is a forest. Look around yourself. There's trees everywhere. There are enough trees in London that it qualifies under the United Nations definition of a forest. This is true, look it up. There's enough trees in the space, the square footage of London, that London is literally a forest. The city that is London is a forest. It's not a city, it's a forest. It's a labyrinthine forest. So when I say I like London, I'm not saying I love the hustle and bustle of the city. I love the business and all of that. Fuck that. I love the forest, the wilderness, the wild aspect of London. The great thing, it's a double-edged sword, because the best thing about living in a big city like London is also the worst thing about living in a big city like London. And that is, the best thing about living in a city like London is that nobody gives a fuck. Is that nobody gives a fuck about you, right? Nobody gives a fuck about you. But the worst thing is that nobody gives a fuck about you. So you have this inbuilt privacy. You can do whatever you want in public view and no one will care. But also, if you fuck up, nobody will give a fuck. Nobody will help you. It's a double-edged sword of goodness. And that's what's powerful about living in London. It's this forest where everyone is sort of out for themselves, but at the same time, there's this sort of collective intelligence. And that's all I got to say.
Even for you, that was a bit pretentious. That was a bit much. But I had to leave it in because the camera work was so cool. All the shots of the cars going past and stuff. That was so cool.
Driller update for the drillers and live next door. They do lots of drilling. Quick driller update. Now I'm no building expert, right? I've never claimed to be a building expert, or drilling expert. I'm no building expert. Listen, I don't claim to be a building expert. Okay, I don't want to see anyone in the comments accusing me. Hey, no thank you, you're not a building expert. Why are you claiming to be a building expert? I don't claim to be a building expert, but I think they forgot to put a wall on this building. I think it's missing a wall. They put the wall in the wrong bloody place. They put the wall over here. The wall's supposed to be in where the wall goes. Silly drillers. I think buildings are supposed to have. I'm not a wall expert. Listen, don't come in the comments. Oh no, thank you, the wall expert now. I'm not a wall. Don't call me that. Don't call me that. Don't call me that. I'm not a wall expert. But I think, it speaks for itself, really. I'm up to. Guess what I'm fucking up to? I'm back on my fucking bullshit. I'm back on my fucking bullshit. Wait, what? I'm back on my fucking bullshit.
I'm currently installing Artix Linux on my other computer that used to run NetBSD, right? Why am I doing this? Well, I plan to eventually switch from Manjaro on this computer because as time goes by, I like less and less the fact that I use Manjaro as the bait. It doesn't matter that much. It's really not important, which is why I haven't done it yet. But I do in the future plan to switch to a better to a more minimal operating system like Arch, because Arch would be preferable because I've grown accustomed to using the AUR and I really like the AUR. So an Arch or an Arch-based distro would be preferable. I was thinking of doing Arch, but then I found out about Artix, which is basically identical to Arch, but just without systemd. Now, I don't hate systemd. I'm not one of those big guys that's all against systemd as the most evil thing in the world, but I figure if I'm going to be given the option to not have it, I may as well not have it just because it's not very good software. It works, but it's not the best. Like, if I have the option to not have it, then why would I have it? That's basically my thought process. And the option to not have it is Artix. So I'm using Artix, not because I fell for the Luke Smith meme, because that's the operating system that he uses. It's just that we happen to have a similar use case, I suppose. Although, we have very different computers. He uses DWM, I use BSPWM, completely different. But yeah, I'm trying to installing that. In the front room. That's being installed over there. Actually using a graphical installer, not doing it all in the command line. Could have done it all in the command line, considered doing it all in the command line, but then I thought, all the stuff I'm going to be doing in the command line is basically installing everything that the graphical installer just does automatically, so why waste my time? This is why I'm experimenting with this computer first before I put stuff on my main computer, because if I do this and it turns out it installs a bunch of bloat stuff that I don't like, I know not to do that when I eventually distro hop or just switch distros on my main machine. So that's why I'm testing things out on a machine I don't really care that much about or don't use very often first. I also want to find out how easy it is to migrate my setup from my ThinkPad over without using my ThinkPad, because obviously when I switch OSs, I'm not going to have access to my ThinkPad, so I'm going to see how easy it is to switch everything over and do it once so I know what to do. I'm pretty certain I'll know what to do, but I want to make sure I have it on lockdown because I have everything so nice the way I like it on this computer that I don't want to I don't want to have to do everything from scratch. It's taken a long time to get here. So I just want to copy everything over, and I want to know what the best way to do that is, so I'm going to experiment. That's pretty much the whole situation, I suppose. There's still a possibility that I'll find Artix annoying and I'll be like, actually, turns out I do need systemd. and then I'll just switch to Arch, and it's no fucking big deal. Or maybe, shock horror, I might just be like, actually, Manjaro works fine, there's no reason to switch. This is all just experimentation. Or maybe I'll hop on the current meme and switch to OpenBSD. I really fucking doubt that I will do that. That is a big doubt. Because I just like the AUR too much. I mean, there are operating systems that I like better philosophically than Arch. Like NetBSD, for example, or Plan 9, but I just like the AUR too much.
曲の表示はいつヒント12345 12345正解は4分の5拍子これ様子変わってるじゃんちょっとギャー小説生を飛び越して音符を乗りこなしてプロ苦しいグループ管理人が持つ現場ライブは塗り替えちゃえ地中百戦の剣を投げ込まない
I am noise. I'm fucking noise. This is how I calm down. I fucking turned all the fucking lights off. I fucking play rain sounds. I fucking generate 20 fucking minutes of white noise in fucking Audacity. Because none of the fucking white noise things on fucking the internet are fucking actual white noise. They're just fucking bullshit. Like, oh, go to our fucking JavaScript website and make fucking bullshit. Bullshit, fuck you. I want fucking white, oh, go on YouTube, look for white noise, it's all fucking bullshit. Fuck off, I want fucking white noise. I had to go into Audacity and make my own fucking white noise. I'm gonna fucking kill everyone. And then I play fucking Mersbell. Can you hear the noise? I'll play it out loud, maybe, but it won't be very loud. I put this on my ears to stop it. Frog located. Yo, Wagwan.
Bitches on my dick, cause they know this shit is thick. And niggas for the niggas getting sober. Bitches on my dick, cause they know this shit is thick. For the niggas getting.
You should feel what it's like to be in here. This is a big dark piece of fabric pointed directly at the sun. Upon touching it, it feels warm, uncomfortably warm, hot. You could probably cook an egg on there. This heat then radiates throughout the room. Even when the sun goes away, it retains some heat. If you want to see what I mean by direct contact with the sun, not that that's a sentence I said, allow me to demonstrate where I lift the blind up slightly, how bright it is. There you go. It looks like that in real life, but that's not just the camera making tricks. This is how it looks. That's how bright it is. And so that's because the sun is pointed directly into my room, because that's where my room is facing. Which is why I have the fan on. There, the fan is on.
Because when you're depressed is when you want to eat junk food. But it's also when you need to be eating broccoli, because junk food's going to make you feel worse. Is there someone calling for me? I don't know. Oh, you know what? I hope it goes away. Just like all my problems. I had a bit of a meltdown earlier today, which you saw is partially in the video. I was very, very overstimulated by the sounds of the drillers and the lights and the everything, smells and everything. And I kind of freaked the fuck out. And ever since that, I haven't quite recovered. And here we are.
Alert, back one in Mr. Beast video. Alert, located, back one in Mr. Beast video. Back one located in Mr. Beast video. Next is there, I'm watching Mr. Beast reacts because my brain is decided to rebel today and I can't do anything else. They're talking about, they want to react content. Just summarize it quickly, no thank you, just summarize it quickly. React content to extreme sports biking, and someone said they should make an anime about this, and then Mr. Beast said they probably have. And then the editor shows Bakuon, which is not about mountain biking, and it's not really about, I mean, it's about street biking, like a mountain motorbike. And I suppose he could make the argument that he was talking about FMX, but Bakuon's not about FMX or anything like that. It's not really even about motorbike racing. It's just about having a motorbike and how it's cool to have a motorbike, but it's also mostly like a slice of life anime about a motorbike club at school, because it's a weird slice of life. It's got Top Gear references in it. It's the only anime I've ever watched with Top Gear references in it. It's actually not that great, but it's worth watching out of curiosity because it's a very, very niche otaku show, which is the shit that I fucking love. Anyway, Bakuon in Mr. Beast's video is very strange because Bakuon is like not a well-known anime, but I think it's the only motorbike. But I can't. Well, there's two car. That's not like strictly a motorbike anime. But yeah, they're not. The crossover between anime fans and motorbike. It's weird that there aren't more extreme sports anime. Someone's gonna make one day and it's gonna be fucking sick. Oh no, thank you. All of your takes boil down to popular thing bad. Why you gotta be a hipster contrarian popular thing bad person? Well, the reason is, firstly, you're wrong. I like lots of things that are fairly popular. But secondly, the aspects of a work that result in it being popular are also aspects of a work that I don't particularly like. What I mean by that is just sort of, you know what, let's let's use food as a metaphor here. Let's use food as a stand-in. Okay, so you ever notice that like pizza is kind of overrepresented on the internet? Like it feels like people talk about how much they like pizza a lot more on the internet than they do in real life. Why is that? Well, the reason is because on the internet you generally see the most popular posts or, you know, stuff like that. Viral posts are the most popular, posts that most of your friends retweeted or re-Facebooked or whatever the fuck. You know, you see the most popular posts. And so, the thing about pizza is that it's not necessarily the best food, but it is it is a food that almost everyone likes to some extent. And so any post relating to liking pizza, someone else will be like, oh, I like pizza too. This is a relatable post. Now, I have nothing against pizza. Pizza is a delicious food, and I am very happy when I eat pizza. However, once you start to take risks with your food, for example, as soon as you start to take risks with the food, you risk alienating some people. For example, I like spicy food, which people don't like spicy food. I wouldn't necessarily put spicy food on a pizza, but some of my favorite food is spicy food. However, as soon as you make a spicy food, you risk alienating some people. Or maybe foods from cultures that are not nearby or familiar to people speaking the same language that you're speaking, because it's the internet and it's all linguistic. So like, for example, I don't know, I like food from all over the world. The other day I went and had Ethiopian food. It was really good, but a lot of flavors that are fairly unusual and not commonly found in Western European food. Now I like that, but a lot of people might not like that because it's unusual. It takes, it's a risk. And then you got like crazy foods, like what do they call it? Molecular gastronomy, which I fucking hate that word, that phrase, whatever, but it's stupid. But like that, there's loads of crazy risk cases, fusion cuisine, like there's all type of crazy food mixtures, and some of them end up being really, really good, but not everyone's going to find those really good. So you end up with most foods being about pizza, because that's the most relatable and popular food. And there's nothing wrong with enjoying pizza necessarily. But it is kind of plain and boring, particularly like margarita pizza with nothing really on it. It's not evil, but it's a little bit boring. Sometimes it's good. If you go to like fucking Italy, get a really nice margarita at a really good restaurant, right? You're gonna have a really good fucking experience. Compared to margaritas made anywhere else. But at the end of the day, it's a margarita. You're not going to get crazy flavors you weren't expecting. You're not going to be surprised. And therefore, there's going to be an inherent lack of some sort of something there that's like interesting and triggers your curiosity and desire for novelty, human desire for novelty. That's why I don't like. That's why you might think that popular thing bad is a weird opinion to have, as if you're. I mean, in order to say that, you have to assume that things get popular at random. No, things get popular because they have certain traits that make them popular, and it's possible to not like those traits. It has nothing to do with whether it's popular or not. It's just to do with whether I like those traits, and those traits are a lack of risk-taking and, reliance on familiar tropes and formulas and current genre trends and all these sorts of things. Like, that's not very interesting to me when it comes to music or movies or whatever. I like to see the stuff that experiments and takes risks, and that's the stuff that's more interesting to me because, it's like a curiosity and discovery and intellectual. It takes some effort to understand it, which makes it more rewarding when you do understand it. And that's my, I think, popular thing bad. Normally, I have this for breakfast. Pure caffeine pills
But today, I'll be having this. Let's see how this goes then.
I don't like nostalgia. I actively avoid it at every turn. But more than that, I just don't enjoy it. I don't get it like other people get it. Like it's hard to explain. I suppose I'll put it this way. Like, I think I don't like nostalgia because my childhood just wasn't very good. And so things that bring me back to my childhood aren't particularly enjoyable. To clear this up, to expand on that, every time it was my birthday, my dad would ask me, so how was your being 7 years old? Was it better than being 6 years old? Like that. And every year, I would say it was better than the last year, until I turned 9. And when I turned 9, he asked me, and I said, no, it was worse. And then every year after that he asked me, it was worse and worse. And he stopped doing it eventually when I was like, I don't remember when, but he stopped doing it eventually because it just got worse. Actually, was it 9 or 8? I don't really remember. The other thing is I don't remember my childhood like at all. Like most of it is a blur to me. It's all a fucking blur. I have a terrible memory for all of that stuff. I think it's probably repressed. So there's all of that as well. But the other thing is that none of the nostalgia things really work on me. Like, I think because of that, like when I see something and it's like, hey, like all those YouTube nostalgia, internet nostalgia things, like I look at them and it's like, hey, it's Smosh, remember Smosh? And I'm like, yeah, Smosh was never that good. Like, I look at Smosh and I'm like, that certainly is Smosh, or like, that certainly is PewDiePie, him and those barrels. Like I don't get it. And anytime someone shows me something from old YouTube or something, I'm just like, so desensitized to it because it feels like everyone's just trying to get this emotional reaction out of me, but I don't have an emotional reaction to it. I'm just like, that's the thing I used to like. Yep, you're right. I was a child when I liked that. Correct. Well done. Well spotted. Like SpongeBob's still funny to me. Like I can go back and watch old SpongeBob episodes and still laugh at them because they're well written and great. But like, no part of that. Well, I'm sure there's a part of it that's like nostalgia. For example, I'm rewatching Doctor Who right now from the Christopher Eccleston era, and there is nostalgia involved in it. But a lot of the experience is not being happy with the nostalgia, but realizing, oh, I didn't realize this was that bad when I was a kid. I didn't realize the CGI was this fucking awful when I was a kid. Or like, oh, this dialogue is kind of like weird and stilted, or like, a lot of stuff like that. It's kind of the opposite of nostalgia. It's like, oh, maybe this isn't as good as I thought it was when I was a kid. Don't get me wrong, I still like Doctor Who, but the first season is kind of slow. It doesn't like get good until the episode Dalek, when suddenly the quality just completely changes and it becomes good. But the first few episodes are not very good. Anyway, Doctor Who aside, there is one thing in the world that gives me a powerful nostalgia. And you're listening to it right now, hopefully, if I've done this correctly in editing. It's this song, Happy Chiptune. This was the outro song for Sips, who was a Yogscast member YouTuber. This, I'm pointing up as if that's where the song is. For some reason, no one else's outro songs, like the Seth Bling outro, for example, doesn't give me this nostalgia. Like, I'm like, I like it. Like, I remember watching Seth Bling back in the day, and I'm like, haha, nice. But, like, not a powerful emotional reaction like this song does. I don't know why, but yeah. Happy Chiptune makes me incredibly nostalgic, and I think nostalgic in the proper way, where it makes me sad. It makes me deeply sad. It's a mixture of the Greek words nostos, meaning homecoming, and algos, meaning pain or ache. So yeah, it's a pain. That's the whole point of it. It's not the fun, epic nostalgia compilation. I just feel pain.
「